All right. Well, welcome everyone to the second of two Old Matthews Road traffic calming meetings. My name is David Greaves. I'm working with NDOT as the designer on this project. I'll be also facilitating this meeting. Today is October 8th, 2024, meeting at 6 p.m. Virtually only. Also on the phone with me is Ethan Kerr. We work together and he'll be helping with this meeting as well. Just some general housekeeping items. We have a chat function in the WebEx. You're welcome to post any questions or messages throughout the meeting there. There's not too many of us on tonight, so also feel free to come off mute if you prefer to ask your questions out loud. And then since I know that our first meeting was a little while ago, want to ask, were both of the attendees on tonight present at that first meeting a few months ago?
Yes, I was.
Excellent.
Yes, I was in attendance.
Okay, great. Well, that sounds good. So we'll spend a little bit of time kind of refreshing on what we talked about there, but I won't keep you longer than we need. But also feel free to let me know if we need to circle back to anything or go over anything else. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So you may remember, what is traffic calming? It is a residential street program. So we don't do collectors, arterials, things like that, mainly just neighborhoods where people are living. We're really focused on physical solutions that reduce speeds. There are 3 E's: education, enforcement, and engineering. We focus really heavily on engineering because that is the component that NDOT is most capable of influencing within our department. Education, certainly we can do, and then enforcement is mainly under the jurisdiction of the Metro Nashville Police Department. And we try to do these projects in such a way that we don't need to have police officers out there all the time enforcing speeds. To reiterate why speed reduction is the goal, we show this graphic to kind of explain Vision Zero and how speed ties into that. Vision Zero, of course, being imagining a Nashville where nobody has to die on our streets or be seriously injured. And speed correlates, really strongly with the rate of survival for pedestrians being struck by vehicles. So we want people to drive slower because anyone who may be hit has a greater chance of coming out of that interaction alive. This is a really popular program. When Old Matthews Road was selected, there were 480 neighborhood streets in the queue. And Old Matthews Road was a part of a cohort of 25 streets that was selected at the same time as an additional 60. Outside of the neighborhood street traffic calming program is Hub Nashville. So if there is anything that we're not featuring in our design, but that you'd still like to request, this is a really good resource to know about and use. So the number for that is 311. The website is hub.Nashville.gov. There's also an app that's really helpful as well. Just as kind of a refresher, this is Old Matthews Road on our traffic calming tracker online. You can see it's highlighted as kind of that lime green because we are in the meetings and design phase, and then soon we'll move to the balloting phase. So a little bit of refreshing on what traffic calming measures we're proposing for Old Matthews. We have speed cushions throughout the design. These are vertical measures intended to slow speeds, basically functioning as speed bumps, but stretched way out to target a higher speed that's around 20 miles an hour, rather than those like really slow kind of parking lot style speed bumps that you see in areas where you really ought to be going closer to like 5 to 10. NDOT has had a really good experience with these working pretty well. These two bar charts show data from before and after studies of speed cushion installations. And we can see that the average speed came down from 31 miles an hour to 22, and the 85th percent speed came down from 37 all the way to 25. So we were pretty pleased with those results. And generally it was affirming that the speed cushion approach tends to work pretty well. We also have a couple areas where we've proposed radar feedback signs. We tend not to rely on these exclusively for speed reduction, but they can be really useful in filling in some gaps where we're not able to use physical measures like we would maybe like to. And we can talk about that in a little bit greater detail when we're looking at the plans. And then lastly, we have bulb outs. So on intersections that are excessively large, we propose these to shrink it down and make turning movements tighter, as well as just give less pavement to maneuver in. That slows speeds in turning by sharpening the radius that a car has to turn within. So that forces them to drive slower through the turn. For going straight, it reduces speeds just by narrowing that pavement a little bit, making it kind of a tighter space. There's still enough room for two cars to pass by each other side by side, but it's not going to be quite as comfortable as like a really wide open street would that would invite higher speeds. Some added benefits, they reduce the pedestrian crossing distance, so there's a shorter amount of space. The pedestrians and vehicles are in conflict, and it also improves the visibility of an intersection, so you can better see what's going on around you, and you won't have those views blocked by parked cars, for instance. All right, well, it looks like we've had a couple more people join on the phone. Welcome. We've just kind of finished our quick overview of what we covered in meeting 1. And now we are going to move on to reviewing the traffic calming design that we've made for Old Matthews Road. But if there is anything that you have questions about that we've covered, I'm more than happy to go back. Just let me know. So what did we propose for Old Matthews? Anyone who went to the first meeting will see this design looks pretty familiar. We didn't really change anything meeting 1 to meeting 2, because generally the people on that meeting seemed okay with what we were proposing. Basically, we've got 8 sets of speed cushions along the entire length of Old Matthews. 1 radar feedback sign at both the beginning and the end. And then there's a set of bulb outs at the intersection of Old Matthews Road and Combs Drive. The reasoning behind that is it's our 4-way intersection in this neighborhood. It had a good amount of pavement that wasn't necessarily necessary for proper turning movements. And from aerial imagery and comments that we received from residents, it sounded like people were using that space to do donuts, which is obviously neither safe nor preferred for the folks that live in this area. The radar feedback signs at the beginning and the end specifically were placed to basically warn drivers before they get to the speed cushions if they're going too fast to navigate those properly. Neither Trinity Hills Parkway nor Troy Court, I believe, has stop signs. So there's a potential for these to kind of sneak up on people if they were going, excessively fast. And we don't want to surprise anyone with speed cushions. We just want them to be there to be, maneuvered over. Do we have any questions on anything I've said so far? The next few slides are kind of some close-ups of the design, and we can look at them as much or as little as we'd like. But I want to make sure to give you all plenty of time for discussion, questions, really anything you've got.
Okay, I have one. My name is Audrey. I got in a little late. So it is for sure that speed cushions are going to be put in?
Not necessarily. We will talk about the balloting process next, but essentially, if the residents of Old Matthews Road like this project and want it to happen, we'll ask them to vote yes. And if 66% of respondents, vote for the project to happen, then yes, we will install the project we're looking at.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Sure.
I've got a question. Is that can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that 66% based on the number of people that call? What if you get only 7 or 8 people to call in?
Yeah, and I'll answer this question while looking at this slide, just so you all can kind of follow along. But yes, for the balloting, we will send postcards to every owner parcel on Old Matthews, and they will all have the opportunity to either call in or vote online and say yes or no. So it's not 66% of all of the parcels. It is just those that choose to submit a vote, kind of like any other election.
Okay, thank you. And I'm calling in. I'm unable to see your design. So is there any way that I can log on to a website or it can be sent to me?
Yes. So you can see the design one of two ways. We will post this meeting on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the slides that we're running through there. We're also, unless we need to do some serious rethinking of our plans, we'll post them to NDOT's website before the voting mailers are sent out. On the ballot postcards that everyone is going to get, it'll take you to the website that you'll be able to view the designs for the street. So you can kind of take a look at the plans and then make your decision.
Hello, this is Councilwoman Tunes. I apologize for signing on late. I will
welcome, Councilmember.
Once that link is available to the presentation, I will post it on my Facebook page. I will also put it in my newsletter. And if you want me to email it directly to you, you can email me or call me, and I'll get your email address and send it to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilmember. Yeah, we'll make sure to send you the link once it's up online, ready to be viewed.
Okay.
Any other questions on the plans? Next, we can kind of take a look at the flow chart and then sort of answer any other questions about the balloting itself. But I want to make sure we sort of cover everything we need to on the design. Sounds like not. So I'll go ahead and talk through the next steps. We've covered briefly already, but essentially we have our construction plans in hand. Next thing on our end to do is to send them to NDOT to post onto the website. Then we will send out ballot postcards, and they will each have a unique ID. That sort of facilitates the voting and makes sure we count them all correctly and all that. That voting period will be open for 6 weeks. So we like to leave it open for a little bit of time just to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to vote, especially if perhaps their postcard got misplaced, something like that. So if you would like to vote and think you maybe should have received a postcard but haven't yet, you're welcome to reach out to us, and we can, get you set up with your ID should something go wrong there. After the online ballot, if it is successful and passes, we'll put it into the construction queue. And that'll be basically when we order the materials, get the work order put together, and then wait for installation. That period right now is about 8 to 10 months, which is a while. It's not because these take a really long time to construct. It's just that there are a lot of other traffic calming projects in line ahead of Old Matthews. Okay, so it looks like we covered balloting pretty well. So a little bit about the ballot zone and eligibility for voting. Essentially, this is any residential properties, churches, or schools will all get one vote. Only the properties abutting the affected right-of-way are eligible. So we do have a couple of dead ends, cul-de-sacs offshooting from Old Matthews. Those do not have property lines abutting the right-of-way. So this yellow zone that's on the screen is kind of our mailing list. Owners with multiple properties will only get one vote. So when we make that list, we'll go ahead and look for duplicates and make sure to just send them one. Any vacant properties, like a lot completely devoid of a building, we will notice and exclude as well, because obviously nobody lives there. And then like operating businesses are not eligible just because they are not residential. So if it were a, auto mechanic or a sandwich shop, something like that, we would exclude them from the list as well. Any questions on that? We're just about out of material, but I'm happy to stay on, as long as we'd like, and, take any questions, answer, really whatever you all would like.
Just refresh my mind. You said we will be getting the ballots probably when?
We can go ahead and get these plans posted sometime this week and then send out ballot mailers. So you would hopefully be getting them in the mail sometime next week.
Oh, okay.
And just to go back over, this is Vicki Taylor, just to go back over what you said, the beginning is at Trinity Hills Parkway, goes around to Troy Court, and at both of those locations, you're projecting to put the radar signs and then 8 sets of speed cushions on Old Matthews Road.
That's correct. Yeah, between Troy Court and Trinity Hills Parkway. So we generally stuck to the straighter and flatter portions of Old Matthews Road. We know there's that kind of hilly, sharp curve halfway in between. That's sort of the only place we weren't able to find a suitable position, but they're otherwise distributed pretty evenly.
Okay. Okay, and then the bold out at Old Matthews Road in Combs.
That's correct.
Okay. So we're still looking at maybe about a year, up to 12 months.
Yeah, thereabouts. It's entirely possible the pace will pick up between now and then, but right now we're projecting between 8 and 10 months for construction time, and then plus that 6 weeks of balloting.
Okay. And what's the research as far as emergency vehicles coming through when there are speed cushions? Is no slowdown on
Yeah,
trucks or
that's a great
ambulances?
question. So basically, the fact that these are speed cushions and not tables is designed to minimize the impact to emergency vehicles. So these are 6 feet wide because that essentially is wide enough that smaller personal vehicles will have to go over them with either 1 or 2 sets of wheels, and then much wider wheelbases like you might find on a fire truck or an ambulance. They're able to go over them more quickly and not slow down significantly to address emergencies. So this is a program that
That's good.
emergency services and the fire department are, wholly on board with, and um, everyone is very comfortable with their use.
Okay, that's good.
Mhm. Any other questions? For those on the phone, I do have my contact information shown on the screen, as well as NDOT's traffic calming email address. So should any questions or feedback come up after this meeting, we're happy to take them there as well. But if not, we can go ahead and wrap up. We've got NDOT's social media presence. If anyone cares to follow along with them, they send pretty good updates about their various goings on. And then the QR code that's on the screen is Nashville's traffic calming specific website that has a lot of the information that we covered tonight, as well as that tracker that kind of keeps all of the projects in sync and updated.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you all for joining. It was great talking with you all again.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
You too.